Hi everyone, so this is my video reflection about our server administration tasks that we have done. So for the task 1, set up a lab environment. We use Oracle VirtualBox wherein it can run multiple machines using a host, and I learned how to set up a unloaded OS machine wherein you will have to create and configure the specs of that machine that you will make. Drag and drop and shared clipboard can be shared the files between the machine and the host. So that's all for the task 1. Next is the task 2, installing Windows Server 2016. We basically loaded the OS on our empty machine, which is the Windows Server 2016, and continue with the installation. I learned how to troubleshoot if the machine will not run, which is to go to the BIOS and allow the VM option. And I learned how to properly install Windows 10 and proper partition of storage. So that's all for task 2. Next is task 3, configure Windows Server 2016. I learned how to install the necessary tools for a server, which is the DHCP and DNS. And I learned that you will need to do basic troubleshoot if anything problems appear, because we have encountered problem wherein we don't have internet access on our server. So that's all for task 3. Next is task 4, Windows 10 installation. We basically installed Windows 10 and I have learned how to properly install the OS and do the proper partition of the storage. So that's all for the task 4. Next is the task 5, joining Windows 10 computer to the domain. I have learned how to create organizational unit and create users inside the organizational unit, then switch the network to bridge because it was necessary on our case for the problem to be fixed. So next, I have learned how to join the domain by the client using the user account that we have created, and to disconnect to any network or school bind accounts because it will interfere in the joining process between the domain and the server. So that's all for the task 5. So next is task 6, RSAT. I have learned how to create organizational unit and what can it do. For example, is you can actually prevent it from accidental deletion, and you can change the option to vulnerable. I have learned how to create the user and restrict on what they can do, also the time availability on what they can access and when they can access the server. So that's all for the task 6. Next is the task 7, DHCP scope and reservation. I have learned how to create a new scope and new reservation by activating it using ipconfig/release and ipconfig/renew, as it will display the client device as soon as you refresh the address lists. So that's all for the task 7. So next is the task 8, the creation of DNS hosts and alias, group policy management console, creating and link the group policy object, and remaining deleting and link the group policy object. I have learned how to create DNS hosts using the client's IP address. I have learned how to create alias and refer it to the DNS host, and the group policy management console wherein there you can create a group policy object and assign users and restrict their application that they can use. Next is I learned how to restrict in 2 different ways by restricting the executable files, or by restricting using the file path of the file. So for example is the Internet Explorer in our video. So and next is I have learned the availability of renaming the group policy object, link it or not, and the process of deletion wherein you can delete either the link but not the GPO itself, or delete the GPO itself including the link by deleting under the group policy object organizational unit. So that's all for the task 8. For the task 9, backup and recovery. Unfortunately, we can't do the task because of technical problem. Instead, I watched the tutorial or the video, and I have learned that you can perform either full backup or custom backup, scheduling the backup, restoring the backup, and examine the backup content. So that's all so that's the 9 tasks that we have learned, or my reflection, and that's all. Thank you.